Hello everybody, welcome back to another tropical advisory update here on now Cristobal. It is now a week into a tropical depression and it is now expected to continue to stay over parts of Mexico for the next coming hours, but very soon will end up back in the Gulf of Mexico and straight into possibly a very strong tropical storm before it makes landfall for most likely Louisiana. This will bring catastrophic flooding as well all the way from portions of the Gulf of Mexico from coast to coast from Mexico to parts of the U.S. Coast where you can possibly have 8+ inches of rain within a 24-hour period. Hope you guys do enjoy this video. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you guys so much for all the support we've been getting the past couple of days. And also be sure to share the video to any friends or family that you know will possibly be affected by this potential tropical system. Without further ado, let's get in this major tropical update. So here's the National Hurricane Center on the 5-day tropical weather outlook. And here we have tropical storm Cristobal right now over parts of just to the east of the Bay of Campeche. It's not over land here, and it's very soon going to be expected to go back into the Gulf of Mexico as it is doing that weird boomerang-like track. So here it is at 35 miles per hour. So it has not weakened much in the past 24 hours, and it's still not that far from tropical storm force winds. It is 4 miles an hour away from the 39 mile per hour tropical storm borderline winds. As you see, it's at 1,000 millibars, so it actually has weakened a bit more central pressure. But look at this. It is now moving north at 12 miles per hour. So this whole, really from the beginning of it being named, really compared to yesterday, it was moving 3 miles per hour the whole time, but now it's speeding up at 12 miles per hour, and that is obviously means it's going to be in the ocean a lot sooner, which means obviously it has a bit more time to strengthen. We are going to be seeing deadly flooding, of course, and even damaging flooding expected for parts of Mexico and Central America, but it's going to be moving a bit more now into parts of the United States here. So here we have the tropical storm wind probability. So it is now gone up to a 70 to 80% chance for tropical storm force winds for parts of the south central Gulf of Mexico, and we even have a 40 to 50% chance for portions of the Louisiana coast there. As we look at the arrival times, it is expected to possibly make landfall, most likely at this point by, generally it's going to be in this general area by maybe even Sunday morning. Early Sunday morning is the timing of where it will be near the Gulf Coast there. And as you see, we're going to be seeing extreme flooding. And as you see, most of the extreme rain won't be in Florida. Florida is not going to be the #1 state for flooding. Yes, we'll be seeing a decent amount of rain, but Louisiana and Mississippi are going to be seeing the heaviest rain, which I told a couple people. As you see, the parts of Louisiana and Mississippi are going to be seeing up to 6 to 10 inches of rain. You don't see that for parts of Florida, do you? That's off the coast. Really, for scattered areas, you could be seeing 4 to 6 inches for Florida, but really the most reasonable totals are 2 to 4 inches for portions of Florida. And Tallahassee is actually 1 to 2 inches, so Tallahassee won't even get that much rain as expected. As you see, Louisiana and Mississippi, the coast, will be getting the most amount of rain expected from this tropical or soon-to-be tropical storm Cristobal. Once again, 6 to 10 inches of rain. Absolutely crazy here. Let's go ahead and check out here the satellite imagery for tropical depression Cristobal. Here it is now passing the Yucatan Peninsula, and very soon will be ending up back into the Gulf of Mexico here. So it has gained a bit more cloud cover, dense cloud cover since yesterday, so it is getting a bit more organized. As it is, even the northern half of this storm is actually over the coast here, and we are seeing a lot of vorticity here, or cyclonic rotation here. So we are seeing this rotation once again. So we are seeing, of course, this tropical storm it actually looks like a tropical storm in my opinion, but still a depression that it's a strong depression based on the winds. And let's go check out the new update here. We just got tropical storm watches. It just got issued for parts of the Gulf Coast, all the way from the central coast from Louisiana to the coast of Alabama, which I did expect. We won't have any for Florida, so don't expect any of that. This was just issued as we were making the video, so that's gonna be for parts of New Orleans, Gulfport, Mobile, Alabama. Other areas are now under tropical storm watches. So tropical storm watches have now been issued for the United States coast, as it is expected to become a tropical storm by most likely the next 12 hours here. So Expected to travel storm once again by later today, and it's going to be going throughout the Gulf Coast and possibly make landfall by late Sunday. So this thing is not far from making landfall whatsoever. It is basically just over 48 hours from making landfall. Absolutely crazy how soon this thing is, and can even be a tropical depression all the way in Missouri. That's absolutely crazy. This thing can be a depression all the way as far north as Missouri, and even a post-tropical depression by Wisconsin. So as you see, we're going to be seeing a ton of rain for parts of the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico, but even going to see some more rain as it does get inland. So we now have tropical storm watches as well for parts of the Yucatan Peninsula, including Cancun, because we are seeing those strong wind gusts for that general area there. And as you see, we're going to be seeing, of course, those tropical storm watches for portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Do not expect any tropical storm watches for Florida, anything like that. Let's go ahead and check out here the new model track guidance. As you see, they are finally agreeing. All the models do, 100% of the models do show making landfall for Louisiana. But the big thing is, it's now pushing it a bit more to the east. A couple models were showing it making landfall for western Louisiana. Now, all the models show it now parts of central and eastern Louisiana there. So maybe even closer and closer to New Orleans. It can go straight over Baton Rouge, go straight over Alexandria. So really, this is the cone right now. This is our cone. The cone's a lot thinner, which is good. Now we have a better track of where this actually can go. This is our track, really. So, as you see, Louisiana is really the only state now whatsoever in the cone, maybe even parts of Mississippi. But we have tropical storm watches across these general areas, because we're going to be seeing these strong windy gusts as far east as Alabama, not Florida. But still going to be seeing maybe some gusty winds for parts of Florida, but not tropical depression, not tropical storm force winds. So it's going to go possibly make landfall Louisiana by the next 48 hours to 60 hours there, and then go as far inland as parts of Canada. So it's definitely going to go all the way up to Canada. And this is definitely not our track you really see on for that, looking at a June 5th, really. So absolutely crazy here. The new intensity guidance update here. This is new right now. As soon as this video started, this is the new update. So here it is now. Possibly become a tropical storm in the next 6 hours here to as late as the next 12 hours. So like I said, by the end of today, you're going to be seeing a tropical storm once again. And then it's going to be strengthening, and even a borderline tropical or borderline hurricane. But the best really range of winds is possibly 50 knots there, maybe 55 knots. But that's really going to be it, and then it's going to weaken as it does make landfall by the next really 48 to 60 hours. This thing's going to be just at the end of its peak, and it's going to go down into some back to possibly, of course, tropical depression, and then by later next week it'll be post-tropical depression. As we now look at the new GFS model, it's actually a huge update. Models are showing this becoming a lot stronger than expected, and also central pressure is actually going to go a lot lower than expected as well. So here we are at 1,001 millibars for the next 6 hours here, so it might weaken a little bit more in the next 6 hours, and then it goes back into the ocean. Of course, by tomorrow, going to go all the way to 998 millibars already there. So 998 millibars. Let's actually go back for a second. And then it's going to get 998 millibars in parts of the Gulf, and then going as far down as 988 millibars. So this thing's definitely strengthening a good bit here. So 988 millibars, decent numbers there, and then it even goes to 989 by landfall. It makes landfall at 989 millibars for portions of eastern Louisiana. Like I said, this is going to be catastrophic. Is going to bring extreme flooding all the way as far east as Florida. So you see a ton of rain for Florida and Georgia, even though this thing's in Louisiana. So definitely be seeing very widespread all the way from Texas to parts of South Carolina. We'll be seeing some rain from this system. I do apologize. Someone did walk in, so I do apologize if you guys heard that music from my sister. But here we have it at 989 millibars, and then it goes, of course, throughout parts of Louisiana inland, all the way as far, even including big cities like Alexandria and Shreveport. And then it goes, actually, it's going to be at 992 millibars in Missouri. So this thing is actually not going to weaken that fast, really. 992 millibars. And this thing, if that doesn't make sense, this thing is making landfall at 989 millibars. And then it goes through 2 states, and it's still at 992 millibars. That's absolutely crazy how that thing has not weakened so fast, or that fast. Here we look at the CMC model here, which has been pretty accurate, not too bad this year. It's, of course, by the next 54 hours, here it is at 1,000 millibars, so definitely not as strong as the GFS model is showing it. And that's going to make landfall for a portion of Louisiana at 997 millibars, which that's only 4 millibar, or actually, no, that's actually almost a 9 millibar difference, which is a huge difference. I know that sounds like a little, but that could definitely bring in either, whether it's a weak tropical storm or a strong tropical storm, which obviously makes a difference. And then and then it goes through parts of Little Rock and parts of Missouri, so it's gonna bring a ton of rain for parts of the Ozarks there, and maybe even some severe weather. And then if we look at the Icon model, the new updated Icon model, here it is at 997 millibars per the next 30 hours, and then this actually agrees with the GFS, or kind of close to the GFS model based on central pressure strength, but not exact location. This Icon model goes as far, it's like the farthest west track. It's almost making landfall in western Louisiana, which really is not even in the cone, or it's in the cone, but not like where all the tracks are really. So, really, Icon model has that at 992 millibars for landfall, which is 3 off based on the GFS, not 8 like the CMC compared to the GFS, but location's a bit different, but it's still going to bring in catastrophic flooding, extreme winds for the general vicinity of Louisiana. So it may be off by a couple miles, but it's still going to bring almost the same impacts, but just not for the exact location. But obviously, I actually agree with the GFS, so it's been very good this year. So now, if we look at the next 18 hours for 10-meter winds, here it is at the southern Gulf here, up to 998 millibars, already bringing up to possibly 40 knots here. So it could definitely be tropical storm very soon. And then as we now get the next 30 hours, as this thing is at its peak of strength, this thing could possibly be up to 50 knots here. So almost 60 miles per hour. This thing can get up to 60 miles per hour. And it's going to bring gusty winds, like I said, out far for portions of Florida, just not tropical storm force winds. Could possibly have up to 24 knots for those general areas. And then it makes landfall at 989 millibars, bringing it possibly up to 30 to 40 knots for portions of inland of Louisiana. And then it brings some gusty winds as well for portions of the lower Mississippi Valley Basin. It would possibly be 24 knots. So definitely some strong wind gusts at this. And look at this. This is possibly going to bring it to 32 knots for portions of the Midwest. So this thing's not going to this thing's not going to weaken that fast. Really, quite surprised. As we now look at the CMC, here it is 30 hours, 36 hours at 1,001 millibars, and then it possibly brings it to possibly 32 knots, 40 knots for portions of inland Louisiana ahead of time, and then it makes landfall there. But this one's going to be a lot closer to Mississippi, so Mississippi's still not out of the woods there for potential landfall. And as we now look at the Icon, the next 12 hours at 999 millibars, and then it goes all the way up to 30 hours at 996 millibars, and possibly brings in quite the strong winds, up to possibly 38 knots or more for portions of Louisiana. So that's the winds. Let's go and check out actually see how favorable these conditions are for these general areas of the Gulf of Mexico. As we now look at the current SSTs here, we are going to be seeing some decent warm temperatures up to 27 degrees Celsius. With things right now, it's possibly up to 26 degrees Celsius, but it's going to be hitting some warmer waters, as it is going to be heading basically directly to the north, to Louisiana, where it is almost 28 degrees Celsius. So very warm temperatures, and even very warm temperatures for the coast of Louisiana, almost 29 Celsius. So it's very warm temperatures for the general areas of the Gulf of Mexico, that is bringing favorable conditions. But obviously, warm SSTs is nothing when you have a lot of shear. But we're not seeing a lot of shear actually where this thing actually will head. As you see right now, it's right here in the Bay of Campeche, or actually near the Yucatan Peninsula, or not, just to the west of the Yucatan Peninsula. And it's very, very little shear in the atmosphere where this general low pressure system is. But we are seeing a lot of wind shear flow for portions of the Caribbean and also Eastern Gulf. But that's the Eastern Gulf. As we now get into this 24 hours, this thing's going to be heading to the Gulf where we have a little bit more shear. But as you see where that low pressure system is, right where that low pressure system is, that's where it matters. That is where we have very little shear compared to the atmosphere around it. And then right before it makes landfall at 54 hours, we have very, very little shear, and it's going to bring very strong winds for parts of the eastern Caribbean and parts of the eastern coast. So that's going to bring obviously unfavorable conditions for that general area, but very little shear after. So the Gulf is looking very favorable for the next coming days after Cristobal makes landfall. So maybe we can have another system likely to form unexpectedly in the Gulf. And I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe, and bye guys.